cares that much? Okay, so we are live. Excellent. And we'll wait a few minutes here for people to, well, maybe show up. I don't know. It's morning, and I didn't told anyone that this was happening, so we will see what happens. Usually I do a little intro and then I bring people on. I was like, fuck it, you're here. Let's just bring you on now. And to be honest, literally like 5 minutes ago, I was downstairs, like, just scrolling Facebook, and then I saw that my clock on my phone. I was like, oh my fucking God. Like, it's almost 9 o'clock. I don't know why I thought it was like 8:30. No, it is literally not.
Oh my gosh, that's too funny. Yeah, when I was hopping on this, I just saw Kait and Imposter Syndrome, and I'm just like,
Well, that's what I gathered from your questionnaire, was that that's kind of like what is in the way. So let us jump into that a little bit. So if you want to, like, because I have that kind of information, but if you can kind of fill people in on the context, like what's going on, what's getting in the way, all that good stuff.
Yeah, so I would say that I'm like a successful photographer. Like, it's really not the business side of things or pricing or like my work. It's really just like getting over myself. And I really like, ooh, I'm just a sensitive little bean. And and I'm like a marshmallow. So I take things very personally, even if it's not towards me or if it's not meant for me. I'm just like, wow, this person hates me. My work is trash and I can't, like, I quit. And like I compare myself so hard to other people, and like it's almost like one of those things where you stare at something for so long, and like the first 5 seconds you're like, wow, I am the best ever, and then like the more you stare at it, you're just like, this is trash, I'm trash.
And then you go down this like vicious spiral into
Yeah,
like
exactly.
start it
I'm
all on
a pro.
fire. Yeah.
I'm a pro at spiraling.
So I think a big part of that is you're coming to Body Image Boot Camp, which is awesome. So you will be doing the Clifton Strengths Finders assessment. So maybe I'll send you yours today, because that will definitely it'll give you more insight, I think, into why that might be. Number one, one of the talents that people have is the ability to overthink, which is called intellection, which can lead to anxiety, but like telling yourself stories about things that may not be true. And then if that's combined with like a history, maybe, like, I'm not too familiar with like how you grew up, or like things that stick with you from when you grew up that still resonate in your head, then that's going to like glom onto that. And it's like, oh, well, that definitely means this because that happened when I was 7. And then we like tell ourselves these stories, right?
Right.
So fill me in a little bit about, like, when did you, like, if you look back, do you go back to the past at all? Like, or do you like to do that? Or are you like, no, I don't want to go there?
So definitely a lot has come from like childhood wounds. I'm the youngest. I am the only girl. And I was also kind of like pitted against my parents. Like, my parents divorced when I was a teenager, and pretty much growing up my whole life, it was like I had these bars that I had to come up to from my brothers that they set.
Mm.
And I always felt like, I wasn't the favorite, or, I wasn't good enough. And my mom, she's a Gemini. So I never knew like which parent I was going to get that day. And it was a lot of not just like emotional rifting with her, but it was also like, uh, you know, more like my own like body image. Cause one day she'd be like, you're too skinny. Do you have an eating disorder? And then I'd be like, no. And the next day it would be um, like, oh, you're eating that?
Ah.
Are you, just kind of like the back and forth. And so I just feel like growing up, I was always just like, no matter what I do, it's not good enough.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that actually like very similar to Jill's story actually. Like her
Mhm.
mom was very similar. I don't know if she's a Gemini, but but she definitely like and I see it firsthand even now as Jill is an
Mm.
adult. And that goes a long way and similar to you, Jill's the same. We actually last night because it was like the new moon, so Jill and I did like a new moon ceremony, but like a big part of that was literally me coaching her through a similar thing that you and I are talking about today
Mhm.
because she's like I don't feel like I can put myself out there on the internet because like I'm afraid like that people aren't going to like it and it's not good enough and I need to be this person that they want or else it won't work. And I'm like, what are you talking about? But then we got down to it and a big part of it is that um through her childhood she was always trying to be what other people needed her to be in order
Yeah.
to keep the peace, if that makes sense. So
Yep.
that also is a strength, FYI, if that's something that you have. There's a few different ways that it could show up: harmony or adaptability, which is like I don't like this tension, so I'm just gonna do whatever I need to do to like make sure that goes away. But in doing that, we chip away at ourselves in order to compromise and make somebody else feel better or whatever. And it's like to shut them up or whatever. So then when you become an adult, what happens is you're like, is it good? Is it good? Like, I don't know what good enough for me is. Like, all I know what good enough is or isn't, that also is easy for people that think a lot. Is like, you could tell me what good enough isn't, like when you
Yeah.
look at your work and your initial insight, you're like, yes, this is amazing. But then there's the part that's like, here's all that's wrong with it. Which is another strength. It's called restorative, which is seeing problems everywhere. So when you look at your work, or maximizer also does the same thing, but it is like when you look at your work and the first thing you see is all the things that could be better, everything could be better. And I think it's important to like have that dialogue just ready to go in the back of your head. So one of the biggest things, and I'm going to be talking about this like in a few weeks from now, but one of the things that I think helps people is what would you say are three values that you really want to embody with whatever you're putting out, saying, or doing?
Oh God.
Or just one. Let's start with one.
Well, the first one that came to my head is like confidence um, within myself and my work. Because
Yeah.
I'm really good at like putting up that front, but I want it to be like authentic.
Yeah, so that usually comes from a place of like self assurance, which is that's why I always said it's like, yeah, look at me. You'd be like, oh, Terry, you're so confident. I'm like, yeah, but I have shitty self worth. This is
Mhm.
why I give shit away all the time because I think people won't like me if I don't do that thing, or I bend over like a soft noodle all the time because I'm like because I don't think people will like me. Like that's
Mhm.
my way of dealing with it, and it goes back to as a kid, it wasn't my parents, but rather it was just like as a fat kid, I never felt like I belonged. And I always felt
Mhm.
like we have all these inner needs to do that. So when I talk about value, so confidence is like, and I see that you like, because I am in your other groups and things like that, is I can see that you do the things. Like you're like, even if you're like shitting yourself before you do the things, you're still doing the things, correct?
Yeah.
So that's good. That's like you're not letting it get in the way of you stopping. Like you're not stopping yourself necessarily from doing the things. There's a part of you that knows better than that stupid little voice in your head that's like shut up and just post it.
Yeah.
Shut up and talk about it. Like it
Mm.
literally like shuts down that part to get you through that. So you need to know that you are doing the things and like it's okay, like it's good, you're doing it. So there is like is do you feel that there's a struggle there where you're like, I know it's like I need to do this thing but also like feel do you feel the less confident after you've put something out? Is that what's happening or what happens?
Um, I guess with like posting, it's just kind of I go through like, who am I to be doing this? Like, there are so many other people who are way better, who have more time under their belt with doing this, and It's really like I almost become obsessive like before doing it, and then I become obsessive after. And like I'm constantly like checking comments and being like, oh my God, does anyone like resonate with this? Like, should I just delete this if this isn't getting any traction? And I'm tired.
Yeah, it is exhausting, like trying to manage all of that stuff. And I want to go back to the question that you say is like, who am I to be doing this? And like, there are people that have been doing this forever. Well, yeah, because they never stopped doing it. Because a voice, they never stopped because a voice told them to stop doing it. Does
Mm.
that make sense? Or they
Yeah.
didn't listen. The voice probably did say that because we all get that, where it's like, you should just give up now. Like, it's just better for you. But they were like, fuck no, I care more about the outcome of me like the work for people is more important than my little soft bean feelings. Like, and I think that's like really important. And that's why like, one of the things I encourage people to do for you, confidence is like your value. But I want you to think like, what are values that, and I have a whole list of them, or you can just Google values and there's a whole list of them. But pick out like 3 that you strive to do. Like for me, empowerment is one. Fuck, I have it tattooed on my wrist. Like, but like empowerment is important. Curiosity is important to me. And I don't even like honesty or like authenticity is important to me. So
Mm.
everything I do, if it falls into that structure, is it empowering? Is it authentic? And is it doing this thing? Then yes, I can post it. If it falls outside of my values, that's when I'm like, oh, like, should I have posted that? That's when because it's not in line with actually who I am. It's because I was trying to be somebody I'm not. Does that
Mm.
make sense?
Yep.
So you almost need to figure out like, what is your North Star for you, like in everything that you do, because you, like me, do 1,000 different things, right? Like you have 1,000 different passions and interests, which is fantastic. And I think that's actually also part like you may even be struggling with that,
Mm.
that you're like, there's so many different things that I'm passionate about, but I have to fucking pick a lane. Yeah, does that
Yep.
resonate with you?
Yep.
Yeah, because that's literally been the last year and a half of my fucking life. And so I really like encourage you if you can find that North Star, then it doesn't matter how you're doing that thing. It doesn't matter what medium, whether it be through your presets, like the presets, the reason why you create these particular presets. It might be through like the more mystical, spiritual side of stuff. Like whatever you do is for that same purpose, or it's through photography. Like it doesn't fucking matter. Your podcast, like, as it doesn't matter the medium, and it shouldn't matter the medium, because I don't know, like whoever created this idea that we have to like, you pick a job and you stay there. Like that's so dumb, right? Like, because you, I think similar to me from what I've seen, is you love self-growth, which means you're always
Mm.
changing. Did people make you feel bad for jumping around or like changing things?
It was, well, I mean, kind of, yes. But I think it mostly stemmed from me not ever really wanting to like go to college and always wanting to, I was a bad worker. I was a bad student. I wasn't like dumb or anything. Like I had good grades, but I was just like,
You're probably fucking bored.
yeah, that's why I do so many things too, is because I just get so bored doing the same thing. So I'm like, what else can I do?
Do you follow Gary Vaynerchuk?
I do not.
You absolutely should, because that is literally, he's like, I was a C, like a F, a D student, because he's like, like the school system just wasn't set up for me. But
Mm.
his parents didn't put pressure on him to be good at it. That was the difference. But if you already had pressure to live up to certain standards, or you felt that you had this pressure, then I could see how that would fuel this idea that, oh, maybe if I just got a good job, then like, then then they'll be happy, then they'll be proud of me.
Yep.
Maybe that's then. But the thing is, we're never in control what other people think or do to us, right?
How dare you say that?
Right? Yes, hey. But I think like, and that's the hard reality is like, if you want to have a relationship with your mother is who she is at this point. She's
Mhm.
not, you can't expect anything different, because every time you do, you're just going to feel let down, and you're going to be like, oh, then you're going to feel shit about yourself that you let yourself do that again. And then there goes the spiral again, falling into that. So instead, if you have this North Star where you're like, okay, every day I'm waking up and I'm empowering people, I'm just going to use that word. This means every time you talk to your mom and you have a mantra in your head, when, like, because you're like, I don't know what the fuck she's gonna say to me today, because she goes back and forth. You'd be like, okay, my responses will be empowering responses, either for her or for myself. It's
Mm,
the only way I will respond. Or analyzing the situation to say, okay, the most empowering thing I can do in this situation is to set a boundary with her about what I will and will not accept from her. Like, does that make sense? But
yep.
if we don't have these, like, if we don't have our pillars of strength, then it's easier for us to just look at what everybody else is doing. And then we're like, oh, but then it doesn't feel right. And you, like me, when it doesn't feel right, we're like, fuck, that didn't work either. Now I failed at something else. Right? Does that
Yeah.
resonate?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's, so I think if that, like, after we're off the call here, that's what I would encourage you to do is, like, Google, just go on Google and, like, Google values list or whatever. And the best way to do it is narrow it down to 5, and then narrow those
Mm,
5 down to 3, and then you can stick with 3, because I find 1 is, like, really specific, but because certain situations call for different things,
right.
right? And then put those words somewhere where you fucking see them all the time,
Mm,
because then it's like, oh, I see so and so is posting this photo and it makes me feel like shit about my own work. Is that thought empowering, positive, or otherwise? No.
right.
Okay, I don't want that thought anymore, because it's not helping me and it's putting bad juju on them. Right? Which is not why I'm here on earth. Like, these are not my values to pursue. Does that make sense? But if we don't
Right.
have that, then it's like, oh, shiny over here. Oh, but I like that over there. Does that make sense? So
Yep.
I think, yeah, so I think it's really important to figure out for you, and nobody can tell you that. I can't tell you what that is for you. Like, that is where you have to be like, okay, if I was on an island by myself, what would still be important to me aside from food and water and sleep?
Mhm.
The normal basic human necessities. Like, what would I still, and an easy way to do this, after you do your strengths, it'll be easier to figure that out. But also, when you look at times when you've been in crisis, like actual crisis, like where you were like, I
Mhm.
don't know how the fuck I'm getting through this, those moments, it will have been your strengths and your values that pulled you through it. So, like, when the pandemic hit, what was your, like, for the first month, what was your reaction? I know for me, that was when I noticed, I'm like, holy fuck, my positivity, like, went whoop. Like, it was important to me to make sure I was there to support other people, because I knew, I'm like, hey, if I'm feeling this, lots of people are fucking feeling this. So I knew that, and I saw that in my actions. Like, okay, I need to be curious and figure out, how can we think differently than how we've been thinking? I need to innovate, because that is one of my talents. Like, and that's kind of what got me through it, was focusing on how I could help other people through it. For some
Right.
people, it's being the peacekeeper. It's like, oh my God, okay, I see this person is really upset over here, and this person, and I just know if they could just talk it out, then maybe we could get them on the same page in some capacity. That works. Or connecting people together. Like, everybody's different, whatever their strength is, but it would have shown up in that moment where you're like, holy fuck, what is happening in the world? Like, or like, why did you create, let's talk about your presets. What was
Okay.
it specifically? Why did you create your presets?
Um, Mainly because like I saw a need for inclusivity and representation for BIPOC skin tones, because I saw that like there are a bunch of like gorgeous presets, but a majority of them didn't really look as beautiful on darker skin tones than it did on like white folk. So that's what really kind of like made me want to do this, because I wanted people to feel like a part of something, and like community keeps coming back in my brain now. So
Good.
yeah.
So that's good to know. So community might be a value, or connection and
Yeah.
like rallying around a specific cause. That's why everybody's is what it is. Like that's the same for me. It's like, no, I can't do this fucking alone. I need your help. Right?
Right.
Like I'm like, I need other people that are also passionate about this, that maybe I want to I could steer the ship, but I also need people like rowing the boat because I can't do
Right.
it on my own. And similar to you is like you have something, but the why and the value behind it is again making sure that it's fairness for all.
Mm.
Correct? Does that
Yep.
sound so? Fairness is important to you. And if you think back to your childhood, you never felt like it was fair.
No.
Right? So that would make sense why it's important to you to do the work that you're currently doing, no matter what it is. Now let's think about the other work that you're doing, like the spiritual stuff that you love to do. What specifically do you do, if I can ask?
So really what I'm kind of doing is like I just kind of got into spirituality like last year. And it's really just for me to feel more connected to myself. And with my podcast, I'm kind of tying that into all of that. But with my podcast community, it's really just, again, like now that I'm thinking about it, a way for people to feel more connected to each other because I've been through some shit and it's like that's where I talk about it and make people feel less alienated and like less alone. Like, yeah, even if like I have a really shiny, beautiful little package that I project on the outside, but I've seen some shit. I've been through some shit.
And again, it comes back to that idea of belonging, because in your family you never felt like you belonged, right?
Mm.
So you're trying
Mm-hmm.
to give people the things that you never had, correct?
Yep. Yep.
Right? So it's important that those are your North Stars. Is like, I don't want anybody else to feel the way that I felt. But if you are doing that for other people, you need to be willing to receive that for yourself. So
No.
sit down. So what I mean by that is you have to be willing to let people bring you in. You
Mm.
have to be willing to receive belonging just as much as you are willing to give to other people. And that can be really hard,
Mm.
especially like basically your brain, for the most part, all the things we learn are from like 0 to 14, and that like solidifies in our brain. And there's like certain gaps throughout our childhood that like certain things will not be like there's certain windows where if you don't get the certain way of like if you're not hugged enough, then you're
Mm-hmm.
going to have a harder time hugging. If you are not, if you're kept in a closet, you won't be able to see very far. Like all these things, there's like certain, and I know that sounds crazy, but that actually happens, like unfortunately to children, right? So it's like all these things happen, but then it makes it harder. Now you're an adult, and so you're like, I don't like how I felt, so I can give that to you. But as soon as somebody comes to you and says, hey, come belong with me, you're like, oh no. Oh no. I'm a strong, independent woman. I don't need that.
Yep.
Right? And so that's where it's really important that, yeah, you can still be a strong ass independent woman, but you'll be even stronger if you can rely on the help and belonging of community the way that you want to give to other people. You can't lead the whole
Mm.
time. You need to let other people support you, whatever that looks like. And it's really fucking hard. Trust me. I hate asking for help because similar to you, I never wanted to rock the boat. My brother and sister were like the terrible ones in the family. Like they were
Mm.
the troublemakers and like all this stuff. So I was like, oh, so I'm going to be the complete fucking opposite. I'm going to be a goddamn angel. I'm not going to inconvenience anyone. And what has that turned into? That has turned into me being afraid to jaywalk because I'm like, or even cross at a crosswalk where I have the right of way. And I'm like, oh no, you go ahead. Like, let the cars go, even though I have the right of way, because I don't want to inconvenience people.
Mm.
Does that make sense? Because it's like,
Yep.
no, I also have a right to take up that, like, this is my time to go, and that is okay. Like, so I have to have these conversations with myself. So the first thing is noticing who and when am I turning away from community because it scares me. Because the thing is, if you, as a child, if you went to your mom and one day she was good and was like, yeah, like I love you, and like we're like together, you're like, yes, I belong. But then the next day she pushes you away,
Mm.
then there's abandonment issues. So if you get too close to a community, there's a possibility that they could abandon you because that is what happened possibly when you were a child.
Yep.
Right? So there's that fear. That's the fear. That's like be successful, but don't be too successful because it could all go away. Okay? Right?
Yeah.
But it's like, but you have to take that chance. You literally have to, in order to do the heart work that you want to do, the shit that you know that you're destined for, that like like this is why I was telling Jill yesterday, like for me, like I have fears too. Like people look at me and they're like, oh, you just do shit. I'm like, yeah, but the interesting thing is it's like my brain splits off, and I think you're similar to me this way, where it's like your body goes through the motions of making shit happen, and it's like, okay, you'll figure out your brain stuff, but we'll have the thing ready when you're ready. Like, but like, so you're still doing the things, like part of you is still doing the things, even though there's fear bubbling in the background. You're like, so it's like half your brain is like, we know this is the right thing to do, so I'm going to just put the action in. I'm just going to start doing it. And then eventually I know you'll be okay and you'll come join us. And then the thing will be ready to go, like your podcast.
Yep.
Right? So you're like, as long as I just start, then eventually my brain will catch up to me, or like my feels will catch up with me. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And I think that's awesome that our brains do that for us. Like they do that for us. They still put us in the motion of doing the things, which would tell me that you probably have strategic really high as well, because strategy is always 2 steps ahead of our brain. And we're like, how the fuck did I get here? A lot of the time. But that's where it's important to say, okay, I see what I'm doing. I know that that is true. I just need some time to get there, and let me work through whatever that shit is. You coming on this call was you working through that shit to get there.
Yep.
Does that make sense? Because like you could have been on this call 3 months ago, but you weren't. Right? Well, maybe you didn't know it was a thing, but like, or whatever, you could have booked a coaching with somebody else. Like whatever the thing is, like you could have done this sooner, but you didn't, because you knew that my brain needs a minute. Okay, now I'm at the stage where I think this is something I need to do to get to that next step. You know, to have this conversation with myself. So I would bet you have strategic really high. Because that's what it does, is like it works. Like physically working is happening and confidence is showing up of like, I'm just doing the things and it'll be fine. And our head is like, are you sure? Like,
internal
are you
screaming.
sure? Yeah, basically it's like, this could fail at any point, but it's like, don't worry, it'll be great. We're just going to keep working on it. Just keep trucking, trucking along. Like our strategic does not care about that sad voice, which is why we're still able to execute. But that's where, but then there will come a point where you eventually have to jump into the safety net that your strategy has built for you. That's the thing, is like, you did the podcast. It's like, okay, now I'm committed. So I know you had mentioned in the questionnaire thing that public speaking is something that you want to get into, or that you see that you could be good at.
It's actually something that like my spirit guides have shown me that it's like, this is what you're supposed to do, because I'm not supposed to be playing it small anymore. And it the actual doing, like getting on stage, like that doesn't really, like, it's terrifying obviously, but that's not really the hard part for me. It's the actually like being seen and being in a public eye and being open not only just for like positive criticism, but also the negative, because then my marshmallow self comes out and I'm just like,
So do you feed into the positive feedback?
I do, but I also feel I give more power to the negativity.
Well, we all do. That's how our brains are wired, just FYI. So don't worry, that's completely fucking normal. But the thing is, if you're feeding any capacity into the positive, you are going to feed into the negative. You can't not. So if you're relying on other people to build you up, then you're also giving them the control to tear you down. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So though, like I always do this. If you watch in the Looks Like Film Bear, if you're in that group, I did a talk on like imposter syndrome. But essentially, I have like these are like the brain bits, like when people put things in. So like here, I'll do this now because it's a good analogy. I just need a glass. I have so much shit on my desk. It's fine. Okay, where's my hard drive that I always drop? Here we go. We don't talk about that. Okay. So, oh, hold on. Beep. So this is your brain. This is your brain on drugs. Just kidding. Okay, so if we know that negative situations and negative thoughts, comments, whatever, they do take up more space in your brain because back in the day we were hardwired to like need to survive. So obviously for us to evolve, our brain needed to be aware more of negative things. Reward was just like a bonus. It wasn't super exciting. So our brain actually takes up more space for keeps more space for negative things to happen. So basically, for every one negative thing that happens, you need about 12 seconds of positive things to just neutralize it. Which is why when we get 10 comments and 9 are like, you're amazing, you're the best. And then we have one person that's like, your lighting could have been a little different. We're like, it's crippling because our brain is like, it is this big compared to this big. Does that make sense? So if we're not doing the work, if we're just like going about our life and we're like, yeah, I love comments on, like I'm looking at my Instagram and we're just letting people fill us up, then they're going to put whatever they want in there. You're a piece of trash, whatever people said to you when you were a kid, you said you've been through some shit. Those are really big. Those are still hanging out in your brain sack, right? Somebody occasionally will come along and be like, no, you're amazing, shut up. And then another person will come along and be like, mansplainy, whatever. And then like, you're cute and adorable. You're super kind, lovely, creative. Like there are positive things, but then somebody else comes along and says, it's porn you're shooting. I don't know. That's just something people say. Oh no, you're okay. You're fine. You're delightful. Whatever. We can see that we're just getting a mixed bag of stuff in our brain. If we're really feeding into both positive and negative, super great. Love it. Okay. Now this part takes forever. So hang tight, people, because if we are doing the work every day, hold on. I hope I have enough small things for this. We're going to pretend that I said like a bunch of small good things. Cute, positive, amazing, fantastic. I am, hold on. I'm delightful, phenomenal, terrific, beautiful, confident. That's a good photo. I know I did my best work on that. Whatever, you get the point. We're going to just fill it up. I say positive things to myself all the time. Do you self-high-five yourself when you do something good? You should.
No.
Start doing that. Because entrepreneurship's fucking lonely. So like when you do something, celebrate it. Okay, so we're doing all these nice things for ourselves. We're like setting boundaries, positive. That's a positive thing. We're self-care. We're going to coaching or therapy. Self-care. That's awesome. We're telling ourselves we're beautiful, amazing. We're drinking our water. We're breathing. We're going to yoga, like all these things. Okay. So this is like, it takes a lot to get here, clearly, because they are smaller things. So we have to put in twice as much effort. Now we do go through this in body image boot camp. So you're going to be like, great. But anyways, so the thing is, if we are waking up every day and doing this work, whether it be through journaling or whatever, and we're like, no, I am strong, I'm confident, I'm amazing, I'm delightful. Just give yourself 12 fucking things even to start your day. Then somebody comes along and they're like, hey, I don't think you're good enough. Then it can't fucking stay in there because you're like, no, I already know I'm good enough. And you're just kind of a twat that moved away. There's no personal attachment here, which then allows you to actually have more empathy for the person that is doing the mean thing. Does that make sense? Like, I think when people comment mean things, the initial reaction is like, heh. But then it's like, imagine how sad, like, would you ever go out of your fucking way, use up what limited time you have on this earth to say mean thing, like to comment something mean on somebody's thing?
Absolutely not.
Imagine how sad and like how sad your life would have to be that is how you want to spend your one life on earth. Random person on the internet. Does that make sense? So like now when people comment things, now it's like a fun thing. I'm like, how do I want to respond to this today? Keeping in mind my pillars. Because sometimes it's best just to delete. If I don't have the emotional bandwidth to engage in an empowering conversation, then I'm just going to block and delete, and it means nothing to me. If I look at somebody's work and it makes me feel some kind of way, I'm just going to unfollow them. It has nothing to do with them, and I know it has everything to do with me. Does that make sense? Like nobody deserves my happiness. Nobody deserves my energy. And in order to make that a reality, I am the only person I can control. So how do I want to respond? How do I want to set boundaries? What does that look like? And eventually, maybe I will catch up and not feel like so jealous or bitter or whatever when I see other people's stuff that I can follow them again. But in the moment, if like, I'm like, no, this is taking too much energy. Like negativity takes so much energy from us. Oh, it's exhausting. Like, and we don't even want it. Like, you don't want it. That's why you're here, right? So it's like, so then it's like, okay, you know what? That made me feel like, and I say, feel it in your body. What does that feel like? As soon as you feel it, unfollow.
Yep.
That's it. You don't, and if people come to you and like, oh, I saw you unfollowed me. Yeah, who cares? Like, oh, well, you know what? It literally has nothing to do with you. It's just something I had to do for my mental health. You keep doing you, you know? Like, I think the more we can put those kinds of things in place and say, okay, what part of this do I own? Am I letting them have more control over me than I care to admit? And why are we doing that? Because there's no personal responsibility if you blame other people for the way you feel. And that's fun. But it's like, but if you could say, you're like, no, my mom is not responsible for how I feel. I'm a grown-ass adult now. I am responsible for the boundaries I put here, the expectations I put on her. That's on me. I cannot convince anybody to change who they are or what that is not on me. I can simply just exist. And in the book Untamed by Glennon Doyle, she says, I just lived the life I was meant to live and let the world catch up.
Yes.
So like, yeah, which is like such a good way to think about it. It's like, yeah, you just do you. And if people have a problem with it, that's not about you. Right. And then so thinking about that now, when you look at somebody else's stuff and it makes you feel a certain kind of way, or somebody does something that you're like, oh, I don't appreciate that, or whatever, that's where you're like, oh, what does that say about me? Like, what does that mean about me? Like, what am I struggling with that would hit home so much for me? Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah. So I think it's really important to kind of go down that rabbit hole of saying like, okay, how much am I letting people control how I feel today? And even starting your day off with, I am not going to let them control me. Or like when people comment. So here are my favorite ways to respond if I have the energy. If people comment just something dumb or like, because I always get like throw up faces on my stuff sometimes. Not always, sometimes. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Are you sick today? I hope you feel better soon. Like I kill it with kindness, like the best. And somebody actually the other day, they tried to take down my business basically by all this shit. I did a live in here about it. And I was like, on my personal page, she was like attacking me or whatever. And I was like, do I have the energy to engage? Yes. Okay. So then I was like, hey, I totally get it. We're all super stressed out right now. You're working on the front lines. Like you're trying to do the best that you can with the tools that you have. And I understand that lashing out might be the way that works for you right now. Studies have shown shame does not help change behavior. It just makes it go underground. And so then I was able to like diffuse the situation by just remaining calm the entire time, even though behind the scenes I was like, oh, it makes me feel icky and I have to like reduce my stress. But it's like, but if I kept focused on like just respond with empowerment, respond with curiosity, figure out what is actually wrong if you have the energy. If you don't have the energy, just respond with love. You are loved, seen, and valued. Who the fuck's gonna argue that? Be like, what does that mean? It means that you are loved, seen, and valued. And do you know how passively aggressively awesome that feels. It's like kind of like a just so you know, I love you. Like, and people are like, what? But only if you have the energy. The main thing is, if you don't have the energy, just delete, unfollow, let it go. Like, you don't owe your happiness to anyone. It's yours. And so when you think, so I think before you go to get on stage and talk about the things, I think it's important for you to start doing this work. Like, how can I prepare myself for the inevitability that somebody's not going to like what I have to say?
Oof. Yep.
Because it is going to happen. People aren't going to always like you. That's what happens. It's fucking life. Right? And this is what I had to tell Jill. So what you can do is say, okay, what is my biggest fear that's like stopping me from like just going for it? What is the fear? And then say, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being like, oh, debilitating, and 1 being like, whatever, where does that land? And then say like, okay, what if that were to come true? What would be the worst case scenario if that was to happen?
Right.
And then from there you can say, okay, so now I can come up with a contingency plan. So that way, if it does happen, then I will be prepared. Because that's the biggest thing. Fear is just like being afraid that you're not going to be, like it hurts more when you're not prepared for it. Right. Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of people say it's like defensive negativity, but it's like, I think it's important to set those expectations, especially if you want to do big things. Not everyone's going to agree with you. It's important to note that when I say things, I'm not going to get it right all the time, but I'm going to try my best. You know what I mean? I just say, and I will welcome feedback. So you have to say that to yourself. I will welcome feedback, but I will only accept it from people I respect. Okay? So like, that's why I have to tell Jill. I'm like, when your mom says something to you, do you respect her? Because like she tries to tear you down? No. So when she tries to offer you feedback, you can say, thank you. I'll take that under advisement, but don't actually. Like think about who, and Brene Brown talks about that. Like keep a list this big of people you trust that would like be like, hey, like I think maybe you could do this differently, or by the way, you might want to do that. You know, be like, thank you. Like I would appreciate from those people, but other than that, it's like, yeah, I will entertain the idea, but ultimately it's not going to make or break me.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah. So just do it is what I'm saying. So do you have any, like, what else can I help you with? Like, is this helping? I don't even know. I'm just kind of talking a lot about stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's all pretty much resonating. Like I came in here with the intention that I was going to hear and learn what I needed in the moment, and it's all very much hitting home. So
well, that's good. So what are you going to do then to shift kind of your feelings around like not being good enough, or like what are some things that you are going to put into action?
I think really like the biggest thing that resonated the most was keeping my own power, because if I can't really teach other people to do that if I don't do it myself, and just really taking the time that I need to fill my own cup and know that I can trust my circle that I've built around me. Those are really like the biggest ones.
Yeah, and I think for me, like one of the hardest things was recognizing that, oh, I can't ask for help from these people. Like when I'm down and feel like shit. Yeah, because before I would just be like, oh, they won't understand it. But that's what shame tells you. Right? That's like shame getting up in there and being like, nobody gets it. I'm like, wait a fucking minute. I am not a special unicorn. Chances are that I am not the only one, which is why for the last, like for this month, I've been posting nothing but vulnerable fucking stories on my Instagram. Is because I'm like, if I have shame about this, chances are somebody else has shame about it. So by freeing myself of the shame, by just putting it out there, it is going to encourage other people to share their story or just feel not alone, which for you is very important. Does that make
Yep.
sense? So me doing the things for the people is more important than my own bean feelings. Does that make sense? Like I could stay focused if I could stay focused on them and work through, but I can't change them. The best way to change or encourage change in behavior is to role model it.
Yep.
So, because otherwise then you feel like a fraud, you feel like a hypocrite, and then that's a whole other imposter syndrome thing. So I always will stop and ask myself, okay, if you want somebody to see this acted out, what do you have to do to show what that looks like? Does that make sense?
Right.
So that helps me when my fear of like, ooh, don't share that is like, that's exactly when you should share that shit.
Right.
Right. And probably with your podcast, you actually saw that when you shared like some of yourself, you were like, oh, here's icky bits of me. And then while we don't rely on other people's response to it, it wasn't as bad as you fucking thought. Right.
Right.
Like it wasn't like, oh, they didn't crucify me. Well, that's good. You know, like we have more in common than we don't. Like
Right.
everyone has more in common, which is what you see, which is why everything that you're trying to do is so important. You're like, everyone deserves this. Everyone deserves to belong. Everyone deserves fairness. Everyone deserves to have a place, a seat at the table, you know? And so everything you do is kind of in line with that, I think, from what I'm gathering from our conversation. So yeah, so just like the thing I would say to focus on is just like, look at where you can start to receive.
Wow.
Just start. It just has to be little things. Like one thing I had to do, like I have like a really good friend who we've been friends since grade 6, but I always feel like there's a bit of a power dynamic where I'm the one that you come to for help. I will gladly give you advice. And then the thought of me turning around and asking her for advice, I'm like, oh my God, that is not a relationship, Terry. That is a dictatorship. That I am controlling the relationship by always remaining one above. That is not equal partnership. That is not fairness. So now I've had to start to say, okay, I'm struggling with this thing. What if I just asked her to sit with me in it because I know she would do that? What if I ask for her creative advice? Because the other thing that happens, and maybe you do this too, when people do offer you advice that you care about, or they offer suggestions, you're like, no, it's fine.
Oh.
And then just like shut it down. And it's like, why did I say no without even, and I told Jill that I do that. So like in our relationship, I was like, Jill, just so you know, I don't mean to say no to you all the time, but my mom does the same thing. That her initial instinct is to say no first because she needs to be the strong, independent woman that figures it out. And my husband's caught on to this. So now he's like, I just plant the seed and 6 months later, it's your idea. but I had to be cautious of what my responsibility in that was. So I had to tell Jill and my other friend, I was like, just so you know, when I say no first, that's my preconditioned response. So give me a minute and I will come back and apologize that I'm not open to listening to your ideas. Because what that's doing to them is they're like, here, I have something to give you. And you're like, no. Like you're literally like if they had a gift, you like pushed it out of their hand. You know what I mean? And it's like, of course. And then I thought about them like, yeah, that would not make them feel good. Right? Like, can you imagine if you're like, here, I made this for you. And then somebody just came along and was like, it's stupid and I hate it. I'm like, no, I don't want that. Yeah, it makes you feel like shit, right? So I'm like, oh God, that's what I've been doing with people's ideas. Or like their help is I've just been like trying to, in order for me to maintain my one-upmanship, because I feel that I need to always be indebted to them because I don't like to be an inconvenience. Yep. So I will position myself here that in doing that, I've actually been hurting them more. And then they stop offering help, which then feeds into my loop of, oh, I don't belong and nobody likes me and I'm all alone and nobody's helping me. It's like, yeah, because they fucking tried and you said no. Why would they keep coming back?
Right.
right? Like, but then that feeds into our confirmation bias piece. So that's why I would encourage you over the next like month, even just like notice. That's the biggest thing, is just noticing where your initial instinct might to be like, no, thank you, like to deny help, or like holding or space giving or whatever, where you feel like, no, they can't see me like that. And try to be open to seeing what it feels like to accept it.
Yeah.
It's fucking hard.
Oh, it's so hard.
But I promise that only good can come from that, because that would only strengthen those relationships for sure, because it will never feel like they owe you, right? Or like that they're being an inconvenience to you or whatever. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So it can only, and connection is important to you, so it can only strengthen that for you, which I think will help to keep the loop going instead of like cutting it off before it connects again.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I would focus on that way. I don't know if that helped, but hopefully that we talked through a lot of stuff. But yes. So to sum it all up, if you feel icky, create a boundary. So when you look at somebody else's shit, create a boundary. Number one, just unfollow. And then, because you like self-growth, stop and say, what about that made me feel some kind of way?
Right.
What do they have that I wish I did? Is it the actual thing? Like, is it the actual pose or person on the couch or whatever, the couch? Like, what is it specifically that they have in that makes me feel intimidated or less than? And use that to say, oh, because they got a lot of likes. Okay, so I see that I'm feeding into that again, where I'm getting consumed with how many people like my stuff, and I'm using that as my measuring stick. Is that a really valid way to measure up? No, it's never, actually. Right? Because it's like, again, I think, do you practice gratitude?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, so like that is a good time to, like, when you're like, oh, okay, I feel less than, gratitude. Like that should be the redirection of, you have the thought, like you're going to have the thought, it's preconditioned, like you've conditioned yourself to have it. So you're going to be like, but then be like, this is my sign to look at what I do have, what I have done. Does that make sense? And like, so that icky feeling is now becomes kind of like you're shifting what it actually means. It's now no longer, oh, I'm going to be sitting in a pit of despair and sadness. Instead, it's like, oh, that feeling tells me it's time to take note of what I have. Like, what a fun activity. Thank you for that alarm. You know?
Yeah.
But now you're like redirecting what it means, which also makes it more positive. So and again, that's something we have control over, that, like, people just out there living their lives.
Right.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with us. So that's what, we're not special unicorns, people, everyone listening. We're all just humans trying to do our best, living on this rock. Yeah. Awesome. Well, if you have any questions, today I will send you your strengths thing, so you can take that. And then with that, we'll arrange your coaching for that as well. Because that also will probably help give you some insight for sure. That definitely helps people. So I'll send that to you.
Perfect.
Since you made the steps of booking this coaching, I will do that for you. Awesome. Well, thank you again. Yeah, exactly. Get excited. But thank you. Like, it's always hard to come on here. Like, even just you doing this live is super awesome. And probably there was fear around that. Like, what will people think? And will they think differently of me? And da-da-da-da-da. But you just showing up is role modeling. Wow. So give yourself a high five. Do it.
Pat it back for me.
No. Self high five. Do it. It feels good. That's what, seriously, because you, like, your husband works with you, right? Or something like that. So like, you can high five him sometimes, but I like work alone. Usually, like, I have a husband, but he's never around for that. So when I do something, I'm like, yes, like, high five to me. And I'm like, oh, good. Like, nobody else, I gotta celebrate me, because I can't expect other people to do it. We keep expecting other people to fill up our cups for us, but why the fuck would we do? They got their own fucking cups to fill up. Don't you be dumping into mine, sir, ma'am. Like, oh no, I will take care of my cup, you take care of yours. Anything else is just a bonus.
Right.
Right? And the more you fill your cup and show people how to do that and role model that, the more you'll have to give too. You're like, oh, I'm overflowing now with beautiful things to say. So here,
Right.
your dress looks amazing and it has pockets. Like, but when you're sad and whatever, we can't do that. So it's like just the more we like fill up our own cups, then it's overflowing for other people, I think. So
Right.
like, how could
Yep.
that be a bad thing? It can't, but it does require the work. And that's the part that people have a hard time with. So if you're willing to put in that work, then I think you will see like results that way in no time for sure. And
Yay.
just being here is starting that. So yeah, high five to that.
Yeah.
High five. Good job.
Yay.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. So, Kait, when I stop the recording here, we'll still be on here, just FYI, but then I'll kick you out. So, super great. Okay, bye everyone.
Bye.
Okay.